Well, we are coming up on 1 month of Call of Duty Warzone. Of course, that being their take on the Battle Royale. And I wanted to kind of break down some of what makes this game different and look at what direction we could potentially see it go in the future. At the core of this, Call of Duty did a great job in making a Battle Royale in their own style. At the base of it, this thing is incredibly fast-paced, super simple in terms of UI, every single component of it, and it keeps you in the action. That's just like, I feel like that's been always Call of Duty's go-to. It's just nonstop. You're always in it. But in a lot of ways, this really feels like Battlefield, which is weird because, and I've talked about this, but what have I meant by it? It's like, this game just feels so sandboxy in that you can really do whatever, especially in just such a giant map. You want to start in a hot area, you can start by just picking up a helicopter and flying into people. You can cut your chute and start pistoling people mid-air. Grab an RPG, blow up vehicles, just get a vehicle and just try and run people over. And from the start of the game all the way till the very end, you can run the RPG on. Like, there's so many different options and ways to play the game that it feels like you can just do about anything, especially with the squad behind you. And on top of that, like, so many of the epic moments, like I always thought of Battlefield as this only in Battlefield moments. That's something that really stuck out with me back in Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, hitting those like crazy RPG to the sky to blow the helicopter up. Dude, now we're literally doing that in Call of Duty, and even helicopter to helicopter RPG. On top of that, the long range sniping potential. That was something that to me was like, this is something that always had an edge to me. It's like, damn, dude, you actually shoot the bullet. You got to deal with lead. Because I remember back in the day, we'd be in heated debates on YouTube, online, wherever, in school, whatever it was, of Call of Duty versus Battlefield. And now it feels like there's more of a blending there, especially with this mode. Like, I feel like there's so many of these moments, but like long range sniping, having to deal with the lead, deal with the drop, hit the headshot on somebody, and especially in solos when they just drop immediately. It's awesome. On top of that, literally putting C4s on vehicles and then ditching them, letting them ride, and then blowing the C4 to take down a truck or an entire team, putting the C4 on the drone and letting that fly over, and then blowing up teams that way. Like, it feels really awesome, and it feels like a really interesting mix between that. I know that is not the direction that classic Call of Duty, I know a lot of people don't want it to necessarily go, but that's a lot of the impressions that I've been feeling from it. And at the basics of this game, like, I compare it a lot to PUBG, which I have a lot of history in, and a lot of these other battle royales, but it's keeping true to Call of Duty in the sense that it has a super heavy reliance on the radar. If you call in a UAV, you see somebody shooting, like, that's something I've had to completely retrain myself because I got away from it so much just really looking at the actual map and what's going on, to now having to look at the radar and trying to see, where is a vehicle pushing me? Is there somebody above or below me in the next building? Especially when you call in a radar or a UAV or whatever it might be to give you that extra intel. Sound is incredibly critical as well in this game, which I feel like that was actually the first time I started to put headphones on, was when I started playing Call of Duty. And in this game, I'm missing all the sounds, honestly. You don't know if somebody might be using dead silence too, and that, even if you're running dead silence, you get one of those. You can get some really nice plays on people pushing around, but even just walking at normal speed is basically like using it in most cases because so much going on. But, you know, just the fact that there's hit markers in the game. If you down somebody, you see that icon there. It's very much true to the Call of Duty way with their game. They've always had hit markers, and you even hear the hit marker on top of seeing it. Give you all the UI that you really need, on top of having unlimited sprint. Although you don't have unlimited double sprint, but you can at least still main sprint. You can go upstairs infinitely. You have unlimited parachutes as well, so you're dropping in, take a couple shots, rip the chute, pull another chute. Somehow you got 10 parachutes in your backpack. No problem. You're also just automatically self-heal, so you don't even have to worry about healing. You could get the stim, obviously, and you still need armor for a certain extent, but like, your health will just regenerate at least to 100 automatically. You also have an easy ammunition system in the game where it's like, you just pick up the ammo. It doesn't even matter if you're going to be using the gun or not. Just slurp everything up. It even automatically picks it up to the maximum that you can carry. You don't need to manage about all the inventories and everything. And there's no team killing either. So this is just like, that's what I mean by like this being simple, keeps you in the action. You don't need to worry about all of these other things that are going on. But I think one of the bigger decisions that they made in this game that really, I feel like has been a really good one overall, is the decision to make thirsting something that really is important to do. And it's kind of more understood that that's happening. This is something it's been brought up a lot in my chats. I've seen it in comments as well, is like, compared to other games, when you got thirsted, it was like, oh, dude, he really thirsted me. He really did. Like, I feel like at least there's been a lot less of that in this game so far. I feel far less disappointed getting finished off. Thirsting, of course, being when you're getting knocked out, you get finished off. So somebody kills you the rest of the way. I feel like there's a lot less rage around that for a variety of reasons, but I think it's also just more understood. I don't know if it's just more understood in general in Battle Royales that it's an important thing to do, but I think it's even more so important in Call of Duty's version of this, and I think that's a purposeful direction that they went down when they're developing this game. You resupplying the ammo, because while you can pick up as much ammo as you want, you're also limited to whatever the maximum that you can carry is. 6 rockets, 200 rounds of AR, whatever it is, and that can go through pretty quick, especially if you just come back from the gulag, you don't use a combat class or whatever it might be. You might need ammo. You're definitely going to need some plates, especially if you just got in a fight. You can only really heal once. You're going to want the plates off of whoever you just killed, so finishing him off, grabbing that if you're really close to him, could be a difference maker for you to heal up and get back into the other fight if your team's still going. You can pick up their weapons, but a lot of times that's not as incredibly important as something like picking up utility from them. But the bigger thing is just you don't know if the person that you've killed is self-res or has self-res, or if they still have teammates left.
I can't believe we are alive right now.
We
all used our self-res.
Drop a bit of money.
That right there is the importance of thirsting now, right there.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, it is so incredibly fast to res somebody, even if it isn't self-res and they have a team. If you snipe somebody, by the time you finish pushing up towards them, if you're not already close enough, chances are he's already going to be at least back up. Probably already has armor back as well, is definitely going to be at least 100 health. And so your push now is going to be a lot less effective off of that initial knock unless you were already really close to him, or unless you can finish that person off. And so as soon as somebody goes down, my entire team, especially if we're sniping, we're calling who that knock is, and we're all looking to finish the person off and get him out of the game because we know it's going to be fast. On top of that, with the self-res, if you don't know, really good tip, if you start cooking your self-res, that is, you start taking your self-res, but you don't actually finish it off. You get to like, say, 97, 99% of the way, where it's just almost done, and you're about to stand up, but you stop, and then you have your buddy come over and start to res you. That will actually continue the res from where you had started self-resing off. That just makes it that much easier for him to quickly res you, and you still have that self-res, so you can do the same thing again and keep getting to these fights. So it's incredibly important to finish people off, and I think that's just kind of well understood amongst people. But on top of that, when you die, you have the gulag opportunity to come back. So I think that mitigates a lot, because you're not out of the game yet. You still got that chance in the 1v1 to come back. And on top of that, you can still get rezzed. A lot of the games that I've been playing, I'm pretty much alive for the majority of it. That being, if my team is still alive, they'll get enough money relatively, within 5 minutes or so to bring me back, or it's close to the end game anyways, and the game's going to be done soon, whether they win or lose. Otherwise, it's like the whole team just wipes, and then we just go to another game. So I feel like there's a lot less downtime. That kind of, again, goes back to Call of Duty, keeping the game very fast-paced and keeping you always in it. But there is another direction that I think they should consider going with this, and it's already in the game a lot, and I think this might be something that really intrigues a lot of Call of Duty players as well, because I know if you are coming from the multiplayer side, I've seen a lot of messages and people talking about, well, the time to kill is really long. And while it relatively is long to playing like hardcore or even the core game of Call of Duty, it's still actually relatively quick if you compare it to something like Apex Legends or even like PUBG. It's kind of on par with that, because you want to have more health. So if you do get shot, you've got that chance to do a 180 and try and actually fight back without getting immediately killed. Especially if you're getting team fired upon, well, there's might not be a lot of luck there, but you want to have some opportunity to actually have a reaction. And that's why there is slightly longer time to kill compared to it. So overall, I'm super happy with where it's at. And on top of that, them adding solos is even better. The question I've been thinking about now, though, is where are they headed to next? And where could they even go? There's definitely a lot that I would love to see as a player, but one of the directions I've been thinking about lately is adding some type of realism mode. I played the multiplayer for a few months. I've been really hooked on just battle royales and a different style of game as of late, so I didn't go full-blown into the multiplayer, but I did really like their take by adding realism, getting rid of the hit markers, getting rid of the HUD completely, the UI. It forced you to start using your more in-game senses, stop looking at the radar, start looking at what is actually surrounding you, and it just makes everything, at least for me, feel so much more immersive. I'm using the tools that they really give me in-game and having to rely on my senses. Did I knock the guy? Did I kill the guy? They did have some audio cues for that. And I don't even think it's necessarily the realism as much as it is just the immersion into the game, because you lose all that HUD and UI and everything popping up and giving you a bunch of information. I know in this game in general, there is really a lot of stuff on the screen, especially all the indicators for where the care package is. If your team spots something, a vehicle, an indicator, an enemy, it'd be great to at least still have a compass. If you could still hit tab and manually check to see how much ammo you might have, armor plates, an actual check magazine mechanic. Still being able to utilize the map, but actually having to pull that up and check it to see where a vehicle might be or the point of interest that your team wants to go to. There's a million fine point details that you can get into with this. I mean, even just looking at hardcore versus realism, some people might just straight up prefer a hardcore thing, decreasing the overall health pool. Does your health regenerate? Do those magazines that you reload now drop the extra ammo that was currently in that and you lose the ammo? I'm not going to go through all of the fine points of what I'm thinking about for this, and I think that it's going to just be ultimately extremely subjective once again on what direction people want to take it. But the overall idea of what I want to get across here and what I'm thinking, and I think it still ties into this core Call of Duty that I've been talking about, is keeping that core but making it for a more immersive experience that takes you more into the game and takes you out of some of the HUD and all of the other stuff that they have going on in it. Since they've been going down the route of Modern Warfare, no longer do we have the double jumps, it's boots on the ground, we're using modern guns. I think they've really created an awesome game and an awesome experience here. But I think rather than, let's say, going down the direction of a limited time mode where every gun that you get from a crate is now going to be legendary, everything is fully attached, shotgun only mode, sniper only mode. Some of those actually would be pretty awesome. I'd love to see them as limited time modes, but I think they have a really cool opportunity here that something like Apex Legends probably doesn't have that opportunity of going for a more immersive experience in. I think a realism type mode not only has great potential of being a limited time thing that they can add, but really having another branch to the entire game. In a lot of ways, like I said, I've been playing a lot of Escape from Tarkov. This is a game that also goes for a more realistic perspective. You have to really actually manage your ammunition, repack a magazine if you even decide to keep that when you go for your reload, or you want to drop that magazine on the ground and go pick it back up later. Now, it's not going to get to that extent, but Call of Duty has an extremely complex system in terms of the guns, in terms of the attachments, and they really do have a very realistic aspect to their game. They've gamified it a lot, but maybe a version of it also could exist that gets a little deeper, and I think would really satisfy a whole entire another group of people who do like that more immersive experience. I know it's something that I really fell in love with playing Tarkov over the past few months, but I know that's also not really Call of Duty. Call of Duty is that gamified version of all of this, which is why I think at least trying this out as some type of mode for a limited time would be really cool to do, and a cool direction to take this, and that's different from where all the other limited time modes have gone with Fortnite or Apex. The bigger question overall, though, that I started this with, is what is the direction that this game is going? Looking to Blackout for a previous example, we saw a new map introduced. We saw a lot of updates happen, and they kept it alive for some decent longevity. Especially on console, there was a player pool for a long time. With everything going on in the world now too, are we gonna get a Call of Duty this year again? And if we do, drop another Battle Royale and we're going to refresh the entire thing that way? Or is Warzone going to be a good standalone that they really just focus on that and keep updating for the years to come, putting the new maps in and making this one cohesive game that they continue to expand on? Are we going to see new maps completely, a couple tweaks to those maps before we get a new map update? Call of Duty's also been very big into the esports. Are they going to continue down that route and now make this a more esports-esque game? That could be extremely popular, especially with the direction they're already heading with the multiplayer in general. Personally, I've never been an incredibly big fan of the competitive Battle Royale scene. A lot of the randomness and the RNG, especially in the end game, hasn't been so much for me, although there has been some incredible moments within it. The biggest thing that I'd love to see really though is an expansion into custom games. It's something I've been wanting a Battle Royale to do for a long time, and it's something we saw going deep in with PUBG and was one of the greatest aspects in the game, in my opinion, for a very long time. It's what kept me playing it for so long and making just so much content on it in the first place. We had so much freedom, and we had freedom to do what we wanted in it and make these custom games, and we really didn't even have a lot of tools on it. They started to expand it. They added zombies. They added 50v50, but it kind of stopped after that, and it hit a lot of roadblocks. Call of Duty, though, their custom games are so expansive, at least for the multiplayer already, and the rules and everything you can tweak and set up. I think there is so much potential here for that, for them to do something like that in Warzone. The sheer level of customization that I think they could implement, on top of it being crossplay and getting us 150 player lobbies, would be something with incredible potential. I don't know though if I'm too much of a one-off case because I like to do all of that stuff, or if it would be something that everybody would be on board for. I think a lot of people have put Call of Duty in kind of a category, and myself included in a lot of ways, where this game comes out, it's good for a month or two, it's really fresh, it's really fun, but then you kind of just move on to the next game. It doesn't have as long of a life. For many, it really does. And with Warzone coming out, I mean, they've already drastically now extended the life of what this Modern Warfare game that came out at the end of 2019 has extended itself to become. For millions of people, this is their first experience with Call of Duty in years. They didn't even go back to the multiplayer from last year. And I think how they continue to update it in the direction they decide to take it from here is going to be the big determining point on how long it continues to last and how much effort they continue to put into it. I've been enjoying the hell out of the game. I want to see it last for as long as it possibly can, especially for the sake of making content on it and keeping it fresh for all you guys watching stuff on it. And I'm curious, what do you guys think? What direction do you want to see the game to go? Is it a more competitive route? Would you watch esports on this game? Do you want to have more custom games so you can get with communities or even your friends and do whatever you want on it? Allowing other people to create custom rules within the game, or limited time modes even? Let me know in the comments. But these are some of my thoughts of where I'm at with it, and I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion. Even if you disagree with anything I might have talked about, if you did enjoy, give it a reaction, give it a like. If you want to check out my last commentary, I talk about really more specifically solos in this mode. I also upload these as a podcast, so you can find them on iTunes, Spotify. And if you want to come hang out with me on my streams, we've been talking a lot about finding the best guns, finding the best strategies, play with Aculite, Tomographic, all the buds you see in my videos on this channel and my second channel. It's a damn good time. Link in the description, or just search up StoneMouse64. That's for this one though. StoneMouse64. Over and out.